we go.
Oh, of course. Of course.
All right, in 3, 2, 1. Our Final Four coverage continues here on BTN. We are at the Wisconsin Team Hotel, the Omni, not far at all from Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Badgers, of course, will play Kentucky in the second of 2 national semifinals tomorrow. Pleased to be joined by a couple guys who have a lot of perspective on where this Wisconsin program has been and where it is now. Former Badgers Sean Mason and Moselle Peterson. And guys, you were recruited by Stu Jackson. You played for Stan Van Gundy and Dick Bennett. You were an assistant as well, a grad assistant under Bo Ryan. So, I mean, such a sense of how this program has progressed. When you think of where it was, and it was starting to turn around when you guys got there, and where it is now, what comes to your mind?
Well, I think just when we first came in under Stu Jackson, we were just trying to make the tournament every year, trying to make some noise in the Big Ten. And now every year since Bo's been there, you just see them going to the tournament and going further and further and further. So it's just been a great transition to watch, and I look forward to this game tomorrow and hopefully a national championship.
I have to agree. I mean, coming in and getting recruited by Stu, and everybody was saying, why would you go to a football school at that time? And, you know, having the opportunity to watch how the program has developed over the couple of years, watch it, like you said, Stan come in, Dick take over, and then watch even Coach Soderberg have a year, and then now where Bo has taken the program, it's been amazing to watch over the years and to be a part of it, too, and have an opportunity to coach with Bo. He allowed me to be on the team and be there for those couple of years and learned a lot from him. And, you know, and it's definitely one of the biggest things where I can see where this team is, where they're at today is, you know, having the opportunity to be with him for those couple of years. You see what he instills in those guys, and those guys buy into it, and they go out and they play their heart out for him.
So you guys, I'm going to take you back. So you're student athletes and you're playing, and you're sequestered like I was in 1989. When we played in Seattle, Lou Henson had us staying in Canada, right? That's not the case here with this team. They're loose. They seem to do every responsibility. They're a fun bunch. What is it about this team that keeps them so loose when everybody else is feeling pressure?
I think they're really just they love each other, first of all. Okay. But I think they're all a bunch of guys that you would enjoy and hang out with them, even if you weren't playing basketball with them.
Oh, okay.
You know, I think Nigel Hayes kind of keeps them loose. He seems like he's the comedian of the bunch, but I think they just, you know, trying to have some fun and trying to make some noise, but just living the dream at the same time.
I think it starts with their seniors. Obviously, they're a very senior-oriented team. And you got Gosser, you got Kaminsky, you even got Jackson from a standpoint. I mean, these guys went here last year. They were here in the Final Four. I think the same thing is that it's a little bit different this year. A little bit more seasoned. Sure. These guys know what to expect. They're looking at it in a totally different perspective, and they're able to lean on those seniors to be able to say, hey, you know, guys, relax, especially for some of those guys that may be new to. It's really an opportunity for those guys to really focus and keep them really sharp and say, hey, we've been here before. We know how to go about our business, and let's take care of some business.
Well, so I'm interested in what you took from your 2 years as a grad assistant for Coach Ryan. And what was the biggest message that you took away from his coaching style?
One of the biggest, the value of possession. It was huge. You know, coming from Dick, it was a big emphasis on possession of the basketball. Sure. But as far as point possession, I really never heard of that term before until I was with Coach Ryan, and how much you really value, you know, how each shot has a potential point possession to it and what that looks like. And just the biggest thing of how he really focuses on everybody being skilled at every part of his offense. And I think that's one of the biggest things, that one of the biggest success they've had over the years is that, particularly in these last 2 years, is that they're able to put guys on the court that are skilled at every position. So from that perspective, everybody can handle the ball, everybody can shoot, and it makes everybody a threat out on the floor.
I got 2 former players and 1 former coach, so I'm going to put you in the mix. Our viewers need a key for tomorrow's game. If Wisconsin does blank, they beat Kentucky.
I think if Wisconsin can control the paint on defense and keep Kentucky out of it, I think they're going to win the game. I think just they're so athletic, Kentucky, and they get so many easy baskets, the lobs, the dunks. If you can control that paint for Wisconsin, I think they can win this game.
I think it's they just need to play their game. You know, they got here for a reason.
Right.
They did exactly the things they said they were going to do, and from Jump Street, from day one. They're back in the Final Four. 2 back-to-back Final Fours, not bad, but they're still ready to take care of business. Just continue to play your game. That's really it. Nothing really you need to change up. It's the Final Four. Just play your game.
Sean Mason, Moselle Peterson, guys, enjoy the weekend, and perhaps it will end with the first national championship for Wisconsin since 1941. Thanks for spending some time with us, guys.
Go Badgers.
Let's go back to Chicago.
Excellent job, fellas.
All right. This is the final segment in 3, 2, 1. Wrapping up our coverage for now from Indianapolis, but of course we're with you the whole weekend here on BTN, back at the Omni, the Wisconsin Team Hotel. Very pleased to be joined now by Doug Gottlieb of CBS Sports, covering the Final Four for them and kind enough to lend a few minutes to us. You obviously follow the entire country, so I want to get your take on each one of the teams the Big Ten teams is going to be going against. And let's start with this Kentucky team that's trying to make history. What stands out as you look at their matchup with Wisconsin?
Well, there's two things, guys, or maybe three. The first is that when I covered Kentucky's final regular season game against Florida, I talked to Billy Donovan, and he said, if you have the right personnel, if you can get Karl Anthony Towns out of the lane, then there's holes within that defense. You can get to the rim, and they got to the rim. And you look back to the Notre Dame game, Notre Dame 20 layups and dunks in that game. So I think how they adjust after a week of watching the film against Notre Dame, how they adjust to the fissures within their defense, that's going to be interesting. And then on the other side, you look at Wisconsin and their ability to create mismatches. That's kind of the strength of this Kentucky defense is you can put Willie Cauley-Stein on a guy who's big, who's small. I think they're a very, very unique team defensively. Offensively, they like to throw the ball inside. They play inside out, and their primary offense has been Karl Anthony Towns, and then maybe the Harrison boys late in the shot clock. I'm just intrigued on how you think Frank Kaminsky can defend when they're trying to get him into foul trouble early in the game.
Well, I'm looking at who Frank guards is going to be the least aggressive big, in my opinion, from Kentucky. And that would be Willie Cauley-Stein, in my opinion. A killer on the offensive glass, but you're not throwing the ball to Willie Cauley-Stein, and he's getting you anything with your back to the basket. So I think Frank starts out on Willie Cauley-Stein. On Willie Cauley-Stein.
But Doug, as a guard, you understand this. If you want to negate touches inside, you got to have pressure on the passer. Okay, I think it's very important that Wisconsin early on don't allow the easy passes get inside, allow Frank and Nigel to get proper position. So now those big bodies are not deep in the post. Also, they can't give up and ones. If they're going to give up a two, let it be a two. But now if it becomes a three-point opportunity and now you have to double in a little bit, that's when the three-point play via in the paint or on the perimeter now comes into play.
It's also interesting when you watch Kentucky up close and you talk to John Calipari, he'll tell you, first half, I'm just trying to figure out who wants to play and who wants to sit.
Right.
And so we haven't seen Devin Booker a lot recently.
Right.
And he's the one guy who, based upon how Wisconsin likes to, pack line it, make you make jump shots, he can make them. He's big enough to make them over the top. How they match up with Sam Decker. Can they contain Bronson Koenig from his dribble penetration, which I think is underrated? Can Nigel Hayes get loose, or can they nullify him with length and athleticism? I think that is a fascinating matchup from two guys who are looking to just kind of cross-match the other team in order to find the other team's weakness.
What do you think about Duke in the matchup with Michigan State?
Obviously, Michigan State's a far different team the last time they matched up. And Duke has kind of found themselves recently. And the biggest problem, obviously, is what do you do with the big fella?
Right.
Jaleel Okafor is Haley's Comet,
Right.
Once every 80-something years,
Right.
a big guy actually wants to play inside and can score inside when you throw it in there. Right. But I think the way to beat Duke when they're on offense is to put them on defense, and Travis Trice, allowing him to manipulate a ball screen and go at Jaleel Okafor. Does Tom Izzo go away from some of the set plays and go a little bit more freelance as he's done here in this late season run? I think that could be beneficial to them. I still think it's a bit of a mismatch inside, and they're going to feed him till he burps. But I think that Michigan State, because you got two guys on that perimeter that can make plays, two guys I think that'll play in the NBA.
Right.
I think they have a fighter's chance, and this is a team that has shown the moxie of we're never down too many points to find a way to win a game.
I'm also interested, guys, in the fact that Jaleel Okafor has scored 15 points combined in the last two games, and yet Duke was able to find a way to overcome two quality opponents. And so I'm kind of interested, is Duke looking to get Okafor going early, or do they want that perimeter of Matt Jones, who's come off the bench, Jim, to give them a big spark?
Well, you got to give a lot of credit to Justice Winslow. Early in the season, when they played against Wisconsin, I said I think he's the key to how far this Duke team can go because he gives you the versatility, the athleticism, he can score and he can defend. Is this a situation where Brandon Dawson, who can pick up cheap fouls, now guards Justice Winslow and finds himself getting out of the game early because of the nature and the physical presence of Winslow? So he's going to be very important, I think, at the beginning of this game to see how they guard that young man.
You know what they'll do is they'll run isolation for Justice Winslow. And he's hit a couple jumpers of late.
Right.
But I'm sure Tom Izzo and Dane Fife and that staff, they're sitting there going, you know what? Put a hand up, make him make it.
Right.
And next time he makes it, make him make it again.
Right.
Because where you get in trouble is he pump fakes and he goes to the hoop, and now your defense breaks down. I think that the big thing that Michigan State has to remember is, end of the day, Duke has some talent at their best 2 or 3 players, but they don't overwhelm you. Like Matt Jones and Marshall Plumlee and Emil Jefferson, they don't out-talent you coming off the bench.
Right.
So I think if you can kind of withstand some of that initial surge, figure out a way to keep Jahlil Okafor, again, make him guard so he's not as effective on offense. You put yourself in a late game situation, older players can make plays. I think Duke wins, but I think Michigan State's gonna give them a heck of a fight for about 30 minutes.
Guys, from the X's and O's to some of the mental parts of the game, Doug has played in an Elite Eight, Jimmy's played in an Elite Eight, Steven's the only guy here who's been in the Final Four, so let's start with him. But what's your mindset the night before a big game?
You know, you want to try to stay in your routine as much as possible because basketball players are so, superstitious, for lack of a better word. And I had a routine that I had to break at the Final Four because I couldn't do it at the Final Four. But I like to stay within rhythm. And
Can you not share it on TV?
No,
Care to elaborate.
can't share that on TV.
Okay.
But I try to stay as
My
close to my
mind is really working now.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
got you, but I try to stay as close to my routine as possible. Were you guys similar?
I was. I just remember when I was in the Elite Eight, I grew up going to these Final Fours as a kid, like scalping tickets. My dad was the coach. He's an all lobby team guy. I couldn't get my mind away from cutting down the nets and being on one shining moment, to be totally honest. But I'll tell you what's, I think, different about Duke and Kentucky with their young players. Usually you'd say young players, one of them will play well, one of them will play poorly. Jim, you know this. These guys, every game they played in AAU, they played main event games.
Yeah.
These aren't auxiliary gym guys.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
they play on the main floor.
Great point.
And then when they go into the All-Star circuit, after high school, main floor. At Duke and Kentucky, main floor games.
Yeah.
And so even though you would normally say Wisconsin, they're loose, they've been here, Michigan State, they're loose, they got veteran guys, they're playing with house money, don't be surprised if those freshmen have a certain calm about them because Kentucky, they stare death in the face against Notre Dame, and they've played all these main floor games. They're not Aux Gyms guys.
And speaking about night before the game, I think it depends on who you are, what your value is, and what your importance is to the team. Because as someone that had more pressure, my thoughts are a little bit different. Yeah, I want to do the same routine, but a lot of the burden becomes now on me on how I perform or how I don't perform. And you really have to calm your nerves in that instance going into a big game before, because you know the pressure that comes along with kind of being the target or the key guy on your basketball team. But it's like Steven said, you try to maintain that same routine, the same thing you do game in and game out. But I tell you, in a game and environment like this, walking around doing it's tough.
It's tough.
It is extremely
I've got to
difficult.
think, Simon, I've got to think that no matter how normal you want it to be, the fact that you just practiced in front of tens of thousands of people, that points out to you very clearly this isn't normal.
It is, and I'll tell you the other thing. You guys know this. You get this blowtorch in your chest like 4 or 5 minutes in. You're bouncing around. You run out there in the court. You get introduced. You're on and you're playing. You're going up and down. Then all of a sudden, like the first whistle stops. Like I am so tired. Hey, I'm only playing 2 minutes. I'm so tired. And how coaches adjust, and when you get that second win, there's a lot to it. But if there's one team that I think will be loose and play loose, it's Wisconsin. These guys expected to be here. They don't seem to care, and I don't think it affects them nearly as much as Michigan State could be weird because they do have guys that maybe didn't expect to be here, and they might get just a little bit nervous under that bright hot spotlight.
A lot of fun. We can't wait to watch it tomorrow, but we're not there yet. We've got lots more coverage coming up on BTN. We'll be with you for a special Big Ten Basketball and Beyond, 2:30 Eastern Time from Michigan State's Team Hotel tomorrow. That's going to do it for us. Doug Gottlieb from CBS. Thanks for standing by. Steve Bardo, Jim Jackson. I'm Dave Revson. Have a great Friday night, and we will see you Saturday here on BTN.